Hello everyone, my name is Seraphi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to play Lunalights. Lunalights are a really fun Dark Beast Warrior deck. They came out in Wild Spirits and a little bit before that. It's a fun deck. It's been a while since Selena was released, but with the release of the new Ark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, it's really important to look at all of the old Rank 4 Dark decks and see exactly how powerful they can be with this new, just generic, really strong OTK machine. The skill is called Lunalight Alleviation. Each of the following effects can only be used once per duel. You cannot activate the effects of the monster you sent from your hand to the graveyard or cards with the same name during the turn you activate the effect. Pitch a Lunalight to change one polymerization in your hand to Lunalight Fusion, or pitch a Lunalight to send a Lunalight from your deck to the graveyard. So you can't activate the effects of the Lunalight that you send to the graveyard from your hand, but you can special summon it. So the idea is to try and pitch a card to get another card in the graveyard so that you can start reviving with Tiger and start popping off like crazy. Use the cards to banish for Wolf. Really, really good options for you. For the main deck, we are playing 3 copies of Lunalight Wolf. This card has a pendulum scale of 1. You cannot pendulum summon monsters except Lunalight monsters. This effect cannot be negated. Once per turn, you can fusion summon one Lunalight fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard. This is a soft once per turn, so if you return it to your hand with Lunalight Yellow Marten, you can perform 2 fusion summons. Wolf is great. The only real problem with Wolf is that it's level 6, so you cannot pendulum summon it. It has another effect, which is if you summon it to the field, it's got 2,000 attack points, but it's level 6. If a Lunalight monster you control attacks a defense position monster with piercing, that's pretty cool, but you're going to have to basically tribute summon for it, and that's not good, so don't do that. Wolf is fine. You use it to make Leo Dancer and kill people. Next up, we have Lunalight Kaleidochick. Play this at 3. As a soft once per turn, you can send one Lunalight monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. The name of this card on the field can be treated as the sent monsters, if used as fusion material this turn. So Kaleidochick sends for cost, which means 2 things. Number 1, the effect can still be used if Lunalight Kaleidochick's effect is negated, such as if it's revived off of Tiger, or if you effect failure it, at least the effect to mill the card goes off. Number 2, because the card is sent for cost, that means that the Lunalight monster's effects do not trigger. So for example, you cannot send Crimson Fox to the graveyard to use its effect to nuke a monster's attack points to 0. That's just not going to work off of Kaleidochick. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one polymerization in your graveyard and add it to your hand. If this card is banished, you can activate this effect. This turn, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated during the battle phase. So Kaleidochick has 3 separate effects, one of which is only a soft once per turn. You can mill multiple times. You can re-get your polymerization back. You can prevent your opponent from using any battle effects. Really, really strong deck. Really, really good card. This is how you beat Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, by the way. I've played against so many Lunalight players with my Speedroid deck, and they all lose to just Crystal Wing Pass because they aren't able to banish Kaleidochick, because I make sure that they can't. As if you can banish Kaleidochick with Wolf, then Crystal Wing's effect to gain attack points doesn't trigger. So Leo Dancer can beat over Crystal Wing. That's the only way that you can beat Crystal Wing with this deck. Really good. Next up, we have Lunalight Yellow Marten. If this card is in your graveyard or your hand, you can target one Lunalight card you control, return it to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, so it has to be a Lunalight card, but it's a card on a monster, so you can return your Pendulum Scales and reuse their effects, mostly Tiger. This is really good. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can add one Lunalight Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand. So if you have your 1 copy of Emerald Bird, and you have a Yellow Marten, you can normal summon Emerald Bird, pitch Yellow Marten, draw your Lunalight Fusion, and then Yellow Marten will be able to revive itself. Really nice. Lunalight Tiger, this card is broken. I can't believe we have this card at 3. Once per turn, you can target one Lunalight monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot attack. Its effects are negated. Also, it is destroyed during the end phase. None of that matters. Not a single thing matters. It is just summoning a level 4 body, so you can Xyz summon. Fantastic. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can target one Lunalight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but you can only use this effect once per turn. Okay, so that's not a big deal. You can just, if your Pendulum Scale gets popped, you get a body back so you can protect yourself. It's pretty nice. Okay, so Tiger, you play at 3. You want to search this card off of your skill and then discard your Black Sheep to return it to your hand, and then start Pendulum Scaling and Pendulum Summoning, and it's really good. Speaking of Black Sheep, You can discard this card to activate one of these effects, draw Poly, or add one Lunalight monster from your graveyard to your hand except Black Sheep. So this is why the skill is good. You can just pitch a card to send a card from your deck to the graveyard, then you discard your Black Sheep so that you can add the card that you sent to the graveyard to your hand so that you can start using it. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, you can add to your hand one face-up Lunalight Pendulum monster from your extra deck, or one Lunalight monster from your graveyard except Lunalight Black Sheep. Okay, that's fine. So you can either return a card that got destroyed like Wolf to your hand from your extra deck, or you can draw a card from your graveyard. Both those effects are pretty good, so if you have Black Sheep in your hand, you definitely want to use it as material for your Lunalight fusion. Crimson Fox, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, which is Lunalight fusion, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change its attack points to 0 until the end of the turn. Pretty good. When a card or effect is activated that targets a Lunalight monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, each player gains 1,000 life points. Okay, that's a pretty cute effect. It doesn't destroy the card, but it gives both players 1,000 life points that can be useful for keeping you alive, and it can also make it hard for you to get lethal, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Emerald Bird, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Lunalight card from your hand to the graveyard. If you do, draw a card. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one of your level 4 or lower Lunalight monsters that is banished or in your graveyard and special summon it, but negate its effects. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, that's pretty good. Remember that Lunalight Emerald Bird's effect is negated if you special summon it off of the Tiger, so that's unfortunate, but it's a pretty good normal summon. Allure of Darkness, draw 2 cards and banish a dark monster from your hand, or if you do not have it in your hand, send your entire hand to the graveyard. Okay, so just draw 2 cards, banish your Collider Chick, and then get free, negate the battle phase. Fire Formation Tanky, when this card is activated, you can add a level 4 or lower Beast Warrior type monster from your deck to your hand, which will usually be your Collider Chick or your Tiger, depending on which card you don't have. And then all your Beast Warrior monsters gain 100 attack points. And you can set this card off of your Fire Fist Tiger King, that's really good. And then lastly, we have Lunalight Fusion. Fusion summon one Lunalight Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. If your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can also use one Lunalight monster in your deck or extra deck as fusion material. You can only activate one Lunalight Fusion per turn. Now, Fusion determines its materials on resolution, not at the declaration of the chain. So if your opponent has a monster from the extra deck, they can chain to Lunalight Fusion by compulsing their own monster, by, I think by Book of Mooning their own monster. I think Book of Moon, I don't know if Book of Moon works, but compulse definitely. If you can remove your extra deck, your monster that was special summoned from the extra deck from the field in response to Lunalight Fusion being activated, then you are down a card. So, good options. Alright, for the extra deck we have Lunalight Leo Dancer. This card is great. Requires Lunalight Panther Dancer plus 2 Lunalight monsters. Must be fusion summoned with the above fusion materials. Cannot be special summoned by other ways. Cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And this card can make a second attack during each battle phase. Once per turn at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked a monster, you can destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. Okay, so Leo Dancer is basically just, you have to get rid of this card by destroying it in battle. If you can group banish, then it works. If you can non-targeted bounce, then that works. There are very few cards that do that. You can dig Gearsu it, but that's about it. So Leo Dancer is just a really hard card to remove, especially during your opponent's turn. Like, you make Leo Dancer, you don't make Leo Dancer in pass. You make Leo Dancer on turn 2, and then you kill your opponent before they can respond to it. So Leo Dancer, just a really, really strong card, really, really good at OTKing when you have 4,000 life points, and it's a card that you should make almost always. Lunalight Saber Dancer, 3 Lunalights, must be fusion summoned, gains 200 attack for each Beast Warrior monster that is banished or in the graveyards. This is a mirrored effect, by the way, which made it really difficult for me to win with Boojins last night, because I got crushed by Saber Dancer. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one fusion monster you control, it gains 3,000 attack until the end of the turn. That's really good. So yeah, you make Saber Dancer if you don't have Leo Dancer, and it's good enough. Panther Dancer, we use this card as fusion material for Leo Dancer. Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon and Raiders Knights. Requires 2 level 4 darks, and you can detach material to Xyz Raiders Knight into Arc Rebellion. Arc Rebellion, this Xyz summon card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Detach 1 material, this card gains attack equal to the total original attack of all the monsters on the field. Then if this card has a dark Xyz monster as material, negate the effects of all other face-up monsters on the field. After this effect resolves, you cannot declare attacks with other monsters for the rest of the turn. Okay, so Arc Rebellion, crush people. Really good. Brother of the Fire Fist Tiger King. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can set 1 Fire Formation Tanky from your deck and then once per turn you can detach one material from this card, negate the effects of all face-up effect monsters on the field except Beast Warriors until the end of your opponent's turn. Cool. So you just summon Fire Formation, Tiger King, detach a material, negate everything, then make Later Dancer and kill people. You can do this with the Arc Rebellion as well. It's just, you know, Tiger King being able to set tanky kind of helps you fix dead hands, so I feel like running both isn't too much of a brick. Abyss Dweller, this is a great card to make going first. Detach one material, your opponent can't activate any cards in the graveyard until the end of the turn as a quick effect. So yeah, make this, just use both of its materials, and then you have all your Lunalights back in the graveyard and you can start featuring summoning. Evil Swarm Nightmare. 2 level 4 darks. When your opponent special summons a monster, detach one material, change that special summon monster to face down defense position, and you can do it more than once per turn, but it misses timing. Okay, that's your other turn 1 play. So Evil Swarm Nightmare and Abyss Dweller going first usually will win you the game. Cool, let's take a look at the replay. Alright, we are going first against Phantom Knights. And our opening hand is Kaleido Chick, Tiger, and Tenki. Pretty good. So we're going to activate Tenki. We're going to add Crimson Fox to our hand because Crimson Fox is a card we do not care about. Then we're going to use the skill to pitch the Crimson Fox so that we can mill the card we do care about, which is Yellow Marten. Normal summon Kaleido Chick, mill the Emerald Bird. Then we're going to activate Tiger effect. We revive the Emerald Bird. Then we will use Yellow Marten, bounce the Tiger to special summon Yellow Marten, and Exceeds into the Abyss Dweller. Next we activate Tiger again, and we can use it to revive the Crimson Fox, and we Exceeds again into Evil Swarm Nightmare. Cool. Pass to our opponent. Our opponent draws, and I failed to mash buttons. I do not use the on toggle. I use tap, so I have to tap my screen a lot if I want to use cards during the standby phase. I failed to do so. So my opponent activated their skill before I could use Abyss Dweller, pitch the Knight of Cloak and Knight of Torn Scales, and then they're going to activate Knight of Cloak's effect. Now we can activate Abyss Dweller because the opponent did not pass priority when they used their skill. So a bit of a misplay. The opponent is going to Raider's Unbreakable Mind here, that's fine. So they draw their Torn Scales. They cannot use Torn Scales as effect because their monster's in the graveyard. Normal summon Torn Scales and special summon the Silent Boots. We activate Evil Swarm Nightmare's effect to turn the Silent Boots face down, so the opponent cannot use it as a Exceeds material. Opponent's going to activate Torn Scales, toss the Sword and the Wing from deck. Activate Rhoda to draw another copy of Silent Boots, but Silent Boots can only special summon itself once per turn, so the opponent cannot use it as material. They pass their turn. It's our turn. We're going to attach one material from Abyss Dweller to make sure that our opponent cannot use grave effects this turn. The opponent is going to be forced to activate Phantom Knight's Sword in response, but now they can't use their Phantom Knight's Wing. Bring back the Torn Scales, that's fine. We're going to switch Abyss Dweller into attack position and then use Lunalight Tiger to bring back Lunalight Emerald Bird. Then we'll activate Yellow Marten's effect. We return Tiger to the hand, special summon Yellow Marten, and we're going to Exceed summon into our Raider's Knight. Raider's Knight's effect, and our opponent concedes. There you go. So that was a tier 1 deck that we bricked against. We had 2 Pendulum Scales, 2 level 3s, and a rank 4 deck, you know, that we couldn't use, really. And we didn't have any fusion spells, and a fusion deck didn't matter. We were able to build a very powerful board that hard countered our opponent. Then we were able to use the materials that we used detached from the monsters as additional materials. We did not need to draw new monsters. We had the same monsters in the graveyard as before. We were able to use the effect to recycle the Yellow Marten twice, and we were able to make another rank 4, and that was all we needed to win the game. This is the power of Lunalights. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Seraphi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.